Hello, I'm Dr. Harold Duncan, and it's been my privilege for the past several years to teach a class on healthy sexuality at Prestoncrest Church of Christ. The class that I have taught is called Together Forever, and it's comprised of couples who are in serious relationships that may lead to marriage relationships. The class is led by a group of mentor couples. These are couples who have been married for several years and who serve as coaches and mentors for the members of the class. Sexuality is a topic that is not easy for many people to discuss, and yet it is important, and it becomes a little bit easier when it is discussed in a safe atmosphere, and especially an atmosphere which includes spirituality and the healthy aspects of sexuality. These are aspects that we do not often hear in our popular culture. In order to really understand our ideas and our feelings about sexuality, it's really important to spend a little bit of time kind of understanding where our messages originated. Where did we hear what we've heard? And why do we believe what we believe about sexuality? I think it's pretty safe to say that every one of us brings a little bit of a different thing to the table. And when we're in serious and committed and long-term and married relationships, we don't bring the same stuff with us.
We find that out there's a worldview that just is kind of anything goes and not real healthy attitudes, particularly about sex. And we just think that one of the great vacuums has been just a biblical worldview about how a healthy marriage looks and what part sex plays in that. You know, God intended a sexual relationship for our pleasure and to make our relationship even more powerful and more strong. And when we don't live within His hedge marks as He made for His boundaries, then things get real messed up. And it's time for us to start talking about what those healthy boundaries look like.
We don't really know how, at certain points in our lives, to talk about it. We don't know how to share that or what questions to ask. And so the 3 bullet points right up here about sources of information, they're not the only sources of information, but I think most of us can relate to those, that it's really kind of important to explore what our religious history is. What are some of the spiritual, theological messages that we grew up with? If you grew up in a religious tradition of any kind, there were probably a lot of messages. Some of them were spoken overtly and some of them were not and were implied. And I'm going to tell you just in a minute what my very first sex education lesson was all about. That comes under family history. So in addition to religious history, then we've got family history. There are lessons about everything, but especially about sexuality that are passed down from generation to generation, again, either verbally, non-verbally, directly, or indirectly. And so I think that's an important thing for you all to consider about your own religious history, your own family history.